Right, what's up everybody? We'll get started here in just a moment. Pretty big day on Wall Street. Also a pretty big day in New York City. I think the President of the United States, President Joe Biden, is in the city today, I think. So many police barricades up over by the Essex House. So I think not only do we have the former president, Donald Trump, in the city, but we also have the current president, Joe Biden. So tons of traffic, tons of blockades, a lot of stuff going on. So we'll get started here in just a moment, and we will get into earnings on Wall Street, which were amazing. I think if I could summarize it in one word, it would be exactly that, amazing. So we'll talk about Visa, we'll talk about Alphabet, and we will talk about Microsoft. So stay tuned and give us a moment. We'll get started. All right, we will go ahead and get started. But first off, let me know if you guys can rewind. If you refresh your browser, you should be able to rewind the live stream, the DVR as it's called. But I guess we'll get going. So good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks and Wall Street. Today is Thursday, April 25th, 2024. At least I think it's April 25th, right? Anyway, big day on the street. Now, we got some good news, we got some bad news, and all types of news in between. Now, GDP estimates, or not estimates, GDP numbers came in below expectations. I don't think anything to worry about. We'll get into exactly why I think. Really nothing to worry about there. But corporate earnings, particularly Alphabet and Microsoft, also Visa, I think really reset the tone for this market. Massive numbers from Alphabet. It's almost crazy to kind of conceptualize these numbers, right? Now, for example, Visa, net profit was $4.7 billion. Now, it's impressive, right? Now, yeah, $4.7 billion in net profit in a quarter is extremely impressive, but what's even more impressive is to do it on $8.8 billion worth of revenue, right? So the company brings in about $8.8 billion, but the net profit to the company is $4.7 billion. That is a very, very efficient and well-run company, right? If you think about the free cash flow margin, that's about 49% free cash flow margin, which is unreal. Really, really unbelievable. Now, many people would say, yeah, well, Visa is kind of like a monopoly. I guess, maybe, maybe not. But the thing absolutely prints cash. It's unbelievable. So Visa with a great quarter, also Alphabet. I would say before we jump right into those numbers, biggest takeaway, at least for me, for Alphabet is this massive return in advertising spend. Hi.
I'm going to Tavern on the Green. What's the shortest way?
The shortest way to Tavern on the Green is you go right up Central Park West. So you're going to go around the circle.
Yeah.
That's the
So
Trump
where all those
International.
lights are?
Yeah, and you walk all the way up, and you'll run right into it.
Okay.
It's right on the park, Central Park West. Enjoy yourself. Have a good one. Is the massive return in advertising revenue. Because in 2022 and through 2023, there was a pretty big slowdown, right, in advertising revenue in general, because you're coming off of 2021 when everything was euphoric. You had insane amounts of not only fiscal but monetary stimulus too, flowing through the economy. So advertising revenue returned in a major way, blowing out expectations. And if you want to get a little bit granular and look at the individual segments or the sectors that Alphabet reports, well, what platform are we on right now? We are on YouTube, and YouTube advertising revenue beat expectations by a pretty wide margin. Now, YouTube revenue came in at $8.09 billion. Expectations on Wall Street were for about $7.72 billion. So pretty encouraging stuff. Hey, Peter, what's going on? Doc 7. Yeah, Tavern on the Green. That lady was just asking me about it. Beautiful place. If you haven't been, I would suggest going. A lot of people don't know this, but they were actually going to shut Tavern on the Green down forever. They were going to close it down. I think it had to do with pandemic-related things, but Tavern on the Green is awesome. Central Park West. I forget the exact street, but you'll see it. If you just walk directly up Central Park West, you'll see it. It's amazing. Robinson is here. Lance, MD. Good to see you. Blank is here. Says, is this live or another loop? This is just another loop. Sabrina Fair, OYZAL, says Google. Yeah, GOOG and GOOGL, exactly. New England Crypto, thanks for joining. And Lizzie, what's up, what's up? Now, another big bright spot, and I actually want to head the other way. We're actually going the wrong way. I want to check out some of the police activity that's going on for the president. They have all the sanitation vehicles lined up 7. And I believe that's where the president is staying. The JW Marriott Essex House. So we'll check out all of that kind of noise over there. But the biggest news is Alphabet is now declaring a dividend. So for the first time in history, Alphabet and Google shareholders will be getting paid a dividend. They voted on it, the board voted, and they approved a 20-cent quarterly dividend. And I mean, these companies are just printing money. It's and that's why it's so important. And we kind of talked about this in the newsletter. By the way, I sent out the newsletter 2 or 3 hours ago. So go ahead and check your email if you didn't get it. But I think we need to put things in perspective, right? And it seems like everybody nowadays is so petrified and is so scared. This is 220 Central Park South, one of the most luxurious and best-selling buildings, by the way, on New York City's Billionaires Road. This is where Ken Griffin has 2 distinct floors here. But I mean, if you think about some of these companies, like how much money they're making, net income for Alphabet for this quarter was up 57%. They made $23.66 billion. Not for the year, for the quarter. I mean, these numbers are getting so big. I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, these companies are just minting money. And I think the stock's up 14% after hours on the back of that report. Nelson says, did Microsoft save the market? Potentially. I mean, you have Microsoft up. I don't think the stock got that big of a bid after hours. Maybe it was up about 3%. The stock that got the biggest bid was Alphabet. But this is exactly kind of what we want to see, right? We want to see these big numbers from the companies that make up such a large weighting in the S&P 500. A little bit off topic, but I love the main entrance here at 220 Central Park South. It's like this kind of like garden rotunda. You have the main entrance to the main tower here with that beautiful spiral staircase. And then you have this waterfall here. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And here we have engine 23, the FDNY. It's crazy how you could have all of these super talls, and then mixed in you have the original buildings here in New York City. Quite diverse. Patient Lobster, what's going on? RB says, evening, Tom. Good to see you. Look at that. You have 220 Central Park South and then Central Park Tower right next to one another. Beautiful buildings on New York City's Billionaires Row. But essentially what I was saying is that, you know, people get so freaked out and people are inundated with so much fear that it's important to take a step back, understand that markets go up, markets go down, and pay attention to the earnings, right? Because liquidity and earnings is what drives stock prices. See, this is what I was telling you guys about. They have these checkpoints here. I kind of don't want to walk past that German Shepherd. So we'll cross the street. There's multiple German Shepherds, and you have all those sanitation vehicles blocking 58th Street, because this is where the President of the United States apparently is staying tonight. We'll check it out right now. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 K9 units. Man, I would say I fear the dogs way more than I fear the actual people. I mean, if you let one of those dogs sink its teeth into you, I mean, you're not having a good day. You're not going to be feeling well. Anyway, and look at that. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 big sanitation trucks blocking all of 58th Street. And they're actually interconnected too. Hey Elias, what's up? Good to see you. Let's walk around the front and see what it's like over there. You'll see a mix of NYPD as well as federal agents. So in this big tent, I'm assuming, is where they do the car checks. Seems like everybody's out tonight. You have the NYPD Emergency Services Unit. Let's go right down Central Park South. Veronica says, is it the president or former? It's both. So Donald Trump, former president of the United States, is in New York City for the trial. And the current president of the United States is in the city for, I don't know why, but apparently he's here. And he always stays at the JW Marriott Essex House. I mean, he has good taste. It's an awesome hotel. Love the Essex House. It's a nice hotel. It really doesn't have a lot of the amenities like pools and things like that, but it's a very beautiful Art Deco style building. Let's see if we can walk directly past the front doors without any buffering or something like that. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but last month there was that big fundraiser for the DNC, where you had Donald Trump, you had President Biden, you had former President Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and there was one other president. So you had such a massive concentration of presidents in the city. It's like you couldn't even get around. It was so crazy with the traffic, but I get it. I mean, it's heightened security. You have all these police barricades here. Pretty much every other car that you see that's black, like this one, it's all Secret Service probably. And then you have 2 NYPD officers posted directly outside the JW Marriott Essex House. Now, a little bit about the building. They're doing complete gut renovations on the interior, and they're building a brand new restaurant in the lobby too. So if it's been a while since you've stayed at the Essex House, it's going to be really different actually. The renovation should conclude late summer. There's going to be a steakhouse on the left side. So if you walk in this door, where it used to be like a bar and grill, it's actually going to be a steakhouse now, where you see all this white covering the windows. This is going to be a steakhouse. Really nice. And then they're going to expand the lobby all the way down to where you hit that wall by the New York Athletic Club. Oh, DM says there's another fundraiser. Makes sense, right? It's an election year. Now, one of the things, speaking of election year, these are probably all Secret Service vans here. Look at that. This one's probably a Secret Service van too. What do the license plates say, out of curiosity? Yeah, it says U.S. government for official use only, DHS. It's cool seeing it. But there is some interesting data that I forgot to include in the newsletter. I was on a little bit of a time crunch. I was deciding on what to leave in, what to take out. Now, the tail end of election years is historically when the market really starts to ramp, right? At the very beginning of the year, I wrote a newsletter breaking down historical stock market action during election years, both midterm and presidential. Presidential election years are very good for the market, generally speaking. I think it's going to be no different this time. Yes, we are in a technical correction now, but as we've written about, and you guys can check your email, since the lows in October, right? I would say the latter end of October, the S&P 500 gained over 1,100 points. Now, for those people who aren't not big points people, that's a little over 28%, or 23%, excuse me. So the market's gained about 23%, and throughout that duration, it hasn't pulled back more than 2.5%. So that means this market has really been riding like the 15-day all the way up. So now that we finally have a correction, right, in excess of 5%, everybody's freaking out, right? You remember the sentiment, we were kind of talking about it last week. Everyone was freaking out, right? Semiconductors were being dumped. A lot of these high beta names were being dumped. And you had a big rotation into utilities. You had a big rotation into financials, right? The XLF. You had a big rotation into the XLE, which also continued a little bit today. But now with earnings out from some of the big tech companies that were pretty much taking a big beating, we had Alphabet report today. I think that stock is up 14% after hours on a massive beat. Earnings per share came in at $1.89. Wall Street expectations were for about $1.51, so they beat on both the bottom line and the top line. Top line revenue came in at $80.54 billion. Wall Street analysts were expecting about $78.59 billion. So, massive recovery there. They've also issued a dividend, which is probably why you saw the outsized move after hours, because once the ex-dividend date hits, current shareholders obviously will be eligible if you purchase post ex-dividend date you will get that dividend, which will be 20 cents. First time ever. So now a lot of these big tech companies that historically didn't pay dividends, a lot of them are. You have Meta, I believe, paying dividends now. Alphabet. So it's a big deal. Pretty big deal. Nelson says futures are going to close at all-time highs all over again. Maybe. Now, usually corrections happen in threes. They happen in 3 waves down. So in a perfect world, and I just want to show you guys this building. This is 50 Central Park South. This is a really nice building. So it's hotels and condos. It is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and Residences. Stunning building. It's unfortunate that there's all this nasty scaffolding all over it, but they were doing a full restoration on the facade, which should be completed in 2025. So hopefully all this scaffolding will be down sooner rather than later, let's just say. And it seems like there's some politicians staying there with all those, again, all these black cars. But we'll see. In a perfect world, right, just speculating, I think if we chop around throughout the spring, early summer, if we use history as our guide, the tail end of the year, right, as we go into election cycle, I know everybody, it's very laborious, it's going to be really visceral and horrible. I get it. But that is actually when the market tends to perform the best. Strongest Santa Claus rallies tend to happen in election years. And I think this will be no different. I don't know, anybody disagree? Anybody have a contrarian take on my take on that? Because you never know. This election cycle, you could say, and I would agree with you, that maybe this time it's different. Now, those are the famous last words on Wall Street, because it's never different. But this is a very, very different type of election cycle, right? I don't think the country's ever been this divided. And political tensions in the country have never been this heightened. I mean, think about what we have going on right now, just in this city, right? You have massive protests going on at Ivy League institutions like Columbia University, which are really not even like protests. They're just, a lot of them are just like hellraisers. You have protests going on now at NYU, going into an election cycle with 2 of the most polarizing people on the planet, former President Donald Trump and current President Joseph Biden. Could be volatile. Who knows? Oh, Wise House says, I agree, markets will be fine. Lark says, oh, the election session is going to be ruthless. It's going to be like a spectacle to see. It's going to be unreal to even live through this. But Kenny says it should be leading into a possible rate cut, so that should really help things. Maybe, but if you look at the CME futures, or I should say the Fed funds futures tool at the CME group, again, if you look at the newsletter I just sent out, I provided a link to the Fed funds futures tool. This is the front of the Plaza Hotel, the Residences. You have the hotel on the other side. This is the Residences, 1 Central Park South. But the market, futures markets did a complete 180, guys. Complete 180. First off, the market was pricing in, I don't know the time. No. The market was pricing in rate cuts in the summer. And now there's pretty much, I think it shows like a 20% likelihood that there'll be a rate cut in the summer. So you're also seeing that in the bond market. Today, the 2-year Treasury yields hit 5%. So rates are going higher. Doesn't mean the Fed's going to raise rates. It's the market pricing in higher for longer. So I don't know. We'll see. Another piece of news that has to relate to, what do you call it, rate cuts or rate hikes, we got the PCE inflation data out today. And that came in much hotter than expected. I believe 3.7%. And that's not good, because the next FOMC meeting is in about 7 days, I think, 5 or 7 days. And not only 2 weeks ago did we get hotter than expected CPI print, right, at 3.5%, but now the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the PCE, is also coming in much, much hotter than expected. So here's what I expect, and I'd like to know what you guys think too. I think that at the next FOMC meeting, we're obviously going to have another pause. There's going to be no interest rate hike. There's going to be no interest rate cut. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to be forced to come off like an extreme hawk. He's going to have to talk down this market in a major, major way. In a major, major way. Because this is, you know, with the recent GDP prints we got out today, which was weaker than expected, a lot of people that were arguing that we're going into a stagflationary environment, maybe they're looking to be correct right now, because the economy in Q1, or I should say Q4, didn't grow as fast as expected. And inflation seems to be quite sustained, in my view. So, we'll see. All right, let's make a U-turn here by the GM building. And look at that, 53 West 53rd Street. Alan says the rate increasing is coming, Tom. I am willing to bet on it. Maybe not this time, but if we get this hot number coming in again, maybe. I think that would throw the markets through a complete tantrum if the Fed actually had to raise rates again. J Chase, yeah. Yeah, I know those guys. I've been walking past those guys since I was a kid. Carol says, hey there, Tom. Happy Thursday from Miami Beach. I'm jealous. Oh my God, I'm jealous, because today is actually kind of cold. It's 45 degrees out tonight. And it's windy. So, but yeah, generally speaking, if you know, if you give off the appearance, particularly at night, that you're a tourist, or you're filming things, you have your phone out, and someone comes up to you and asks what time it is, usually those guys are like gonna snatch and grab your shit. But so you could just say no and just keep walking. That's all. That's like the oldest trick in the book. It's 2024. You don't know what time it is? You know? Crazy. Nelson says rate hikes are coming soon. Who knows? I mean, you know, Neil Kashkari, who we heard from last week, right? Said that we may not be expecting rate cuts until 2025. Now, this is something I wrote about in this week's newsletter. So if you check your email, or if you type !news, NEWS, in the chat, it'll drop that article. So it's good and bad, right? We're kind of in between a rock and a hard place here, because yes, it's true that a higher for longer rate environment means that savers are getting rewarded again, right? Because you have real rates. If you're saving money in a money market account, you know, money markets are like 5.25, which is good, right? And there's a record amount, I think $6.3 trillion in between institutional and retail money in money markets. So savers are being rewarded. So that's good news. But here's the bad news. The United States, we have a spending problem. You know, we're like a teenage girl that has an unlimited limit on their credit card. You know, they just spend and spend and spend and spend and spend, and they don't know the ramifications, right? So that works both ways. So even though higher for longer in a higher rate environment means, yes, us savers that are doing the right thing are getting rewarded, but us as a country, we're getting slammed. We are getting slammed. Look at that guy washing the windows. So here's the problem. I believe every 100 days that goes by, $1 trillion in interest accrues on the national debt, which is just absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And to kind of compound on that problem, our illustrious government really has no solutions. The only solution that has been proposed by our government is not to reduce spending, but it's to raise taxes, right? The administration has proposed, which is never going to go through, by the way. It's not even, it's almost kind of not worth talking about it because it's never going to pass. But they want a 40% plus capital gains tax. And then on high net worth individuals, they want to propose 25% unrealized capital gains, which is, it's just, number one, it's never going to pass. Never, ever, ever in a million years. So it is kind of true that the media is using this as like, you know, to get people riled up, like rah rah. Because when it comes down to it, nobody's going to vote on this thing, and it's never going to pass. But the precedent is still there. The problem is still there. It's our politicians will not come up with solutions, right, to solve our spending problem, which would be to get ready, wait for it, to cut spending. Big idea, I know. They think on the other side of the curve, if you will. They're like, wow, we're spending so much and the interest is accruing at a cartoonishly ridiculous pace on our debt. How can we solve this? Oh yeah, let's just tax people more so we can bring in more income to service our debt. No, that's the complete backwards way to think about it. Because you're never going to cover that delta. It's impossible. At the rate that our debt is, I should say the interest on our debt is compounding out. I mean, you could tax every American 100% and it's not going to make a difference. Now, here's president number 2. This is the corner of East 56th Street and 5th Avenue. This is Trump Tower. And when I was at the office today, there was media like crazy all in this little spot. I think Trump was visiting some construction sites. I think he was on site at 270 Park. I'm not sure if anybody saw that. Visiting some of the construction workers. So, yeah, traffic like crazy. Security like crazy. All throughout New York City this week. All right, let me catch up on some of the chats. Nelson says, no wonder why gold is going up and commodities too. Crypto Memes says, hey Tom, it's interesting to think that the market had 5 or 6 cuts priced in at the beginning of 2024, but now only 1 or 2 cuts is expected. Yeah. And the market is still up. I think that's a good sign. I think it's a good sign too. Kid scared the crap out of me. I think it's a good sign too, because generally speaking, earnings have been really good. Earnings have been really, really good. And earnings not only have been good generally, but it's been broad-based. Obviously, we talked about financials, right? The major banks in the United States. I included an interesting excerpt, a direct quote from David Solomon, who is the CEO of Goldman Sachs. I included that quote in the newsletter, and he says by and large that business activity is yet again picking up. Hence why they had the best investment banking revenue they've had since 2021. Almost every single major investment bank that reported this earnings season reported a double-digit increase in terms of investment banking revenue. So that is real business activity picking up. That is a show of force, if you will, that M&A activity is picking up, that IPO activity is picking up and the like, which is good news for the American economy in general. Now that we're getting a lot of this big tech earnings out, today we spoke about Alphabet, amazing quarter. We spoke about Microsoft, amazing quarter, and Visa, amazing quarter too. Now, I think we should spend a little bit more time talking about Visa, because there's a lot of, let's say, leading economic indicators that we can pull from that report. Someone says Trump wants to raise rates Paul Volcker style. Hey, Jonathan from Florida, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Let's cross back in, because I think we're going to start to buffer here. This is where we were buffering last night. Nelson says Jerome Powell is fired the minute Trump takes over. You think so? I don't know about that. I really don't think so. Maybe you're right. Who knows? Now, the former president has threatened to fire Donald Trump. I mean, has threatened to fire Jerome Powell in the past. But, so if you look at this report, right? If you look at how Visa reported today, 49% free cash flow margin, unreal. Net profit, $4.7 billion. But what was even more inclusively impressive is they said there was no material change in consumer spending. If anything, it's actually picking up. So after all kind of the negativity that we've been hearing in the media, you know, if you've been watching any of the mainstream or legacy news outlets, you'd think that the world is falling, but according to Visa, consumer spending is still really, really strong at both the upper range and the lower range. Additionally, this was also confirmed about last week when LVMH, Moet Hennessy, reported. Big luxury brand, right? Probably one of the most well-renowned luxury brand in the world, Bernard Arnault's company, said spending is pretty robust in almost all categories. There was only one category at LVMH where revenue actually declined. And we spoke about that. That was the wine and the spirits section. Ooh, look what's going on here. The Metropolitan Museum of Art. It looks like there's some big gala going on. Check this out. They have all these tables set up. It looks like they have a bar. Peter says, is consumer spending up because the price of things they buy are going up? I would say maybe that has a little bit to do with it, but think about the things that people are spending money on, right, according to these companies. We're going to hear from a lot of the hotels and hospitality companies soon. But by and large, it's experiences, right? And once the pandemic started to wind down, you really saw that shift from consumers wanting to buy a lot of physical things to spending it on more, you know, experience-oriented stuff, which really showed up in a lot of the hotel stocks. This is 53 West 53rd Street. This is another one of the Billionaires Row style or esque buildings. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. Hey, Hawaii, what's going on? Good to see you. We're just passing the Warwick Hotel. We're now on Avenue of the Americas, 6th Avenue, looking all the way down. Zozo Bob, what's up? Speaking of hospitality stocks, this is the flagship Hilton right on 6th Avenue. Wow, Keith says the guitar market went through... What do you say, Keith? Let me see. This is interesting. So Keith says the guitar market went through the roof during the pandemic. Those manufacturers are sitting on inventory now. Huh. Well, I guess that makes sense, right? Everybody was buying guitars, I guess, just chilling in their apartments, playing the guitar. That's so crazy. I didn't know that. Look at the Steinway Tower. Beautiful building. Skinniest residential apartment building in the world. Hey, Janice, good to see you. Thanks so much. Solo 401 says I miss working in the hotel industry. It doesn't pay much though. I can imagine it's a very fun business, particularly if you work at one of these luxurious 5-star hotels. I have a few friends that work at the concierge at the Park Hyatt right there on 57th Street. And oftentimes I'll send them a text just to see how business is. And they've been sustained over at 90% occupancy at the Park Hyatt, right at 57th Street. And guys, these are $1,000, and oh, this guy got towed. Yikes. That sucks. You know, these are $1,000 a night hotel rooms, so. The Dare says, Tom, investments are being destroyed because of this current administration. In 3 years, I've lost $12,000 in value. He's done. Now, out of curiosity, and if you obviously you don't have to share, but I would appreciate it if you do. What were you invested in that you lost that much value? Because I mean, 2023 was an awesome year, particularly the tail end for the financial markets. And the S&P, right, all the major equity indices are only off like 4% from their all-time record highs. Are you talking about like a property value, or like what specifically are you referring to? Because I mean, maybe if you own like a place in like San Francisco or something, those property values have been taking a massive beating. If you do, I would say hold on to it, because I think there's going to be a big recovery there. I don't give out financial advice, but if anybody is thinking about fire selling their apartments in San Francisco, don't do it. Just hold on to it and just grit your teeth and wake up in 5 years and you'll be all right. Ah, Nelson's is probably bonds. Yeah. I mean, bonds sold off again today. You now have a 5% 2-year treasury. Now in October, the peak of the 2-year was 5.25. Are we going to go there again? It almost kind of looks like it, right? Very possible. Oh, cool. Keith, this is Tom. I'm staying at the Graduate on Roosevelt Island. Let us know how you like it. Very, very cool. The Dare says, it's my 401k, so it's diverse. I would do an audit and see exactly what you're invested in your 401k, because I don't know. It seems a little strange. But that's a good point, though, that you bring up, because a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is your case, I'm not saying that at all, but there's a lot of people that don't really know what they're invested in their 401k. They just add to it and they don't actually know what it's going towards. So there's a lot of really horrible target date funds out there that people just put their money in aimlessly. And oftentimes it comes with these really aggressive fees. So I don't know, I would sit down with your financial advisor and do an audit on exactly what your 401k is invested in. And make sure you're not getting charged, you know, really, really outlandish fees. I think in today's environment, if you're paying more than 1% per annum, I think you got to reevaluate that, because I think those fees are too high. Look at this little car. Look at that. I like this thing. This is 6th Avenue again. Since it was closed last time, for all of those who haven't seen 6th Ave, let's walk down it. Hey, the Litecoin forecast. This is, hey Tom, the bond market looks like it's bottoming. Bullish RSI divergence. Clear 5-wave down on a TD9 on the monthly. I'm looking for entries over the coming months. Interesting. Not too sure what most of that meant, but yeah, I mean, you know, long bonds last year and this year has really been a widowmaker trade. Maybe it's bottoming out, but I mean, think about it. Think about the inflation print we got, right? We got the PCE numbers out today. 3.7%. And we have the next FOMC meeting next week, or maybe in a week and a half. I don't think Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to be too dovish at the next meeting, because inflation is ramping. You could almost kind of argue this is like a second wave of inflation. So I don't know. And the bond market has done a complete 180, and futures have also done a complete 180, right? If you look at the CME Fed Watch tool, man, this place is gorgeous. This is like an indoor atrium with a restaurant. But if you look at the CME Fed Watch tool, it's pretty much 100% certainty we're going to have no rate cut next week, obviously. 0 over the summer, and probably none in the fall either. So is that a bullish catalyst for long bonds? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but we'll see. Maybe you're right. We'll take a look at the TLT, I guess. I just love the whole environment in here. I'll give you a shot of what it looks like from over here. What do you guys think? Beautiful. here is the Conrad. Litecoin forecast is not based on rate cuts or high inflation. I think this puts strain / potential financial crisis in international banks. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see. Interesting thesis. I appreciate you sharing it. I'll keep an eye out. I'll watch. Now, you do make a good point about, you know, the only way I could see, I mean, really the rates coming down and like capitulating, or at least the Fed trying to cut, is if they just give in and become one, when they're not supposed to act on behalf of the government. The Fed is obviously a separate entity, a private entity. But, you know, our national debt is accruing at about $1 trillion every 100 days. So as we spoke about a little bit earlier in the stream, yeah, you know, higher for longer is good. It, you know, rewards savers, right? Anybody who's just parking cash into money market accounts doing really well. You know, risk-free rate of return, 5%, maybe 5.25%. But what does that say about us as a country? It's essentially bankrupting us. And our federal government is not cutting back on spending. We just passed another crazy spending bill. We're sending more money to Ukraine, more money to, you know, the Middle East, money here, money there. It's like we're giving it out, but we don't have any money. This is a pretty cool shot, looking directly into the heart of Times Square. Solo 401 wants to stop giving money to other countries if they have money to give away. We're paying too much in taxes. I really just think it's the United States trying to gain influence around the world, right? US dollars dollarizing the world. That's why I kind of have to laugh when people say that the US dollar is going to be dethroned as the world's reserve currency and that nobody's going to use the dollar and the dollar is going to go to zero. The dollar, if you look at total global transactions, we broke a record in terms of total dollar, I should say US dollars used in global transactions last year. It's never been higher. So there is, maybe there's like a political reason we're doing this. I don't agree with it, but essentially the United States, I believe, could be wrong, we want to have our interest all over the world. We want to have our arms in all these, or our hands in all these pockets. I think that's the wrong thing to do, but you know, there's a lot of other factors at play, which, you know, if we get too deep into, we'll probably get banned from YouTube. But, you know, military industrial complex, you know, needs to make their money and the like. But now, to be fair, and which kind of supports the point I'm trying to make, and again, you guys are actually more educated on this than I am. I try to just block out the news if it's not like truly financial based, in terms of like what companies are reporting and such. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So take it easy on me if I'm wrong. I think a lot of the money, or, you know, weapons and things like that we're giving to Ukraine, we're giving, you know, all these countries to help fight their battles, they have to pay us back. Is that right? With interest? So it's not like we're just giving it to them for free. They're paying us over time. At least some of the aid is, I believe. All right, Sheraton Hotel, West 53rd Street, 7th Avenue. And also I heard, you know, to kind of play devil's advocate, I like to be fair, aren't we giving Ukraine by and large like our old weapons that we were going to throw away anyway and decommission? Is that correct? Anyway, here's Barclays. Cynthia Ava, what's going on? TC says, I believe, generally speaking, a lot of people in the United States are continuing to spend, unfortunately, through increasing debt. TC, I think you're actually 100% correct, because that's what Visa said today too. Visa reported an amazing quarter, and they said there's no material change at all in consumer spending. If anything, consumer spending is picking up a little bit. I would highly suggest going to Visa's investor relations page. So if you go to visa.com/investor relations, go ahead and punch in your email, first, last name, and email. And you could listen to the recording of the earnings call, and you could just download the deck. Crazy quarter, by the way. Net profit, $4.7 billion on $8.8 billion in revenue. 49% free cash flow margin. Just absolutely money printing machine, Visa. But they've said exactly what TC said. No material change in consumer spending. Consumers are out there spending. And by and large, they're spending on experiences, like hotels and trips and stuff like that. Hey, Theo, what's going on? This Barclays looks beautiful. It does. I just like this shot here. It's very nostalgic New York, looking down into Times Square. John Kelly's here. Hey, John. Happy Thursday. Almost Friday. Fingers crossed. Fun feeds. Some fighting stagnation. Keith, this is Tom. Graduate Hotel on Roosevelt Island is very nice. Caters to Cornell's. Let me take a screenshot. Keith, thank you for that. Now, I don't know if we talked about cloud computing revenue, did we? I think we were getting sidetracked about some other stuff. But obviously Google blew it out of the water. They initiated a dividend for the first time in history. But cloud computing revenue also beat expectations. $9.57 billion. Or $9.57 billion of revenue. We'll let the pedicab guys go. We'll let them go a few blocks before we walk down. And Google Cloud reported exceptionally well with $900 million operating income. Now, Google Cloud, by and large, has been the outcast of the cloud computing community. Google used to run operating losses in their cloud computing division, and analysts were very upset about that. But as we've spoken about, over time, they're going to grow the business. And they're going to turn profitable, and all that profit is going to hit in a major way. And now the cloud computing division is profitable. That's significant, right? And I think they have a massive, massive runway. Let's cross here. I think this hotel is called M Social. And right up there, they have this roof deck that overlooks Times Square. It's like a bar up there. I think you could also get food, but general user. Last year we heard BRICS was going to dethrone the US dollar. A lot of people are still saying that, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I don't believe it. I mean, if anything, the Dixie is historically strong still right now. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams almost every day, starting at 8:30 or 9, depending. Mr. King of Florida says, Tom, can you see my comment? I can. Yeah, I'm not doing too good of a job reading the comments tonight. Let me try to go back and check some out. Lark says, Tom, to be honest, these countries are not going to pay us back, in my opinion. They're money laundering our very own investment. maybe. I don't know. Guys, China is rallying in a major way. We had another follow-through day in China. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy Chinese stocks, but yesterday China was ripping. I wonder what it's doing now. Oh, look at this. This is a new grab-and-go deli. Look at that. This is kind of cool. This used to be totally vacant. Now it's a brand new corner store we have in the community. Nice. Wow, guys, Stardust Diner is totally packed. This is a little bit of anecdotal consumer spending data for you. Look at that. There's a line literally out the door and around the block. Look at that. The first floor of Stardust Diner, there's not a table available. And the second floor is the exact same. They're like slammed in like sardines there at the Stardust Diner. Crazy. Let's go by this dim sum place. Now, a good friend of mine was telling me about this dim sum place when we were checking it out last time on the stream. Apparently, they're having some issues getting their license ready, so it's delayed opening. So it may not open in the spring of 2024, which is right now. But this is a pretty good dim sum spot. Let's cross. Now, unrelated, but almost everyone I know in the city is sick. I don't know what's going around the city. I think it may be strep throat, but all my coworkers are sick. Everyone's sick. So I went to the CVS because I've been in the office like every single day, and I've been just hammering vitamin C all day. And I'm gonna try not to get sick. It's not that I feel like I'm getting sick. Maybe it's like I'm paranoid of getting sick. I don't know how to explain it, but I've been hammering the vitamin C all day today. I've probably taken like 5,000 mgs of vitamin C. Something's going around the city. Cell Texas, my two grandkids have strep throat. MD, this is zinc. I'll have to buy some zinc for sure. Elders take zinc as well. Doc 7 says vitamin C doesn't work. What? What do you mean it doesn't work? Of course it works. Maybe I'll pick up some zinc on my way home today. Emmanuel says I have a strong immune system. I usually do, but here's the thing. When you're in an office and one person's sick, it spreads like wildfire and everybody gets it. So I'm the only holdout amongst all of us in the office. think it may just be the temperature changes. It's so volatile. Like today's cold. It's like 42 degrees out right now. But this weekend is going to be 80 degrees. I don't know if anybody saw that. Sunday, I think it's going to be 81 degrees in Manhattan. That's going to be insane. It's going to feel like Miami. Kathy says vitamin D. Yeah, I gotta load up. I gotta load up for sure. Talent says, Tom, what about Google's AI agents like Gemini Cloud? Well, does anybody remember the market threw a little bit of a hissy fit because Google's Gemini was quote unquote woke? Remember that? Now, we all agreed on the stream that it was a fluke and that they were going to fix it and that it would have really no material long-term implications on the stock. I guess it turned out to be correct. The stock's up 14% after hours. But that is a concern. So, essentially the Gemini offering, they're going to offer it as a subscription service bundled in with the Google Cloud, right? And you got to do it to compete with Microsoft, you know, ChatGPT, OpenAI, and the like, which, speaking of cloud computing there, that also did really well. Microsoft Azure beat expectations in terms of revenue. I think Microsoft stock, it's up like 3% after hours, nothing huge. But now, an interesting thesis to kind of piggyback off of this point. There's many people on the street and many notable analysts that believe that these chatbots like ChatGPT and others are going to start to eat into the core advertising business of Google search. And I kind of see that maybe down the line, but after today's earnings report, I mean, advertising revenue actually exploded at Google, recovered in a monstrous way, and also YouTube advertising revenue beat expectations. So the question is this, and we've asked this question before, will there come a time where instead of everybody having their default web browser be Google, right? Or if you have a question, you just Google it. Or are you just going to default to ChatGPT instead of just searching for things on Google? I already kind of see myself using ChatGPT for everyday use. Like I'll have the window open and just, you know, type in different prompts and it'll you know, answer the questions for me. But I think those type of trends take years and years and years to play out. And also, Google's not stupid, right? Alphabet's not stupid. They see this trend happening and they're trying to get in front of it by putting out their own offerings too in their cloud stack. I don't know, what do you guys think? Rez Dollars is ChatGPT all the way. Let's cross over to Hell's Kitchen. Stars has used the Brave browser, no ads. TK Porsche says within 1 or 2 years, Google will be losing search share to AI assistants. And with that, Google ad revenue will plateau and begin to drop. That's what a lot of people are thinking. Interesting takes. Wow. I mean, we're not going to go into Times Square tonight just because I don't have the mental fortitude for it. But look at this, guys. I mean, talk about consumer spending. It is a sea of people in Times Square tonight. It is absolutely packed over there. And it's cold out tonight, too. So this weekend, when it's 80 degrees out in New York City, I'd like to make a prediction. You're not even going to be able to walk on the sidewalk from 50th Street probably down to 41st Street, right on Broadway. It's going to be so packed. We'll check it out. We'll try to stream it if we don't buffer, but that's my prediction. I think a lot of people are underestimating just how crazy the summer is going to be this year in New York. I mean, it's going to be, I mean, the hotel rates are going to explode this summer. For a crappy hotel in Manhattan this summer, it's probably going to be $300 for like the worst hotel probably a night. Let's head up to 49th and then go to Hell's Kitchen and try to get out of the super crowded areas. And you guys will be able to see the construction site of the new Torch building. Someone says, why this summer out of all summers? Because I believe this is the first summer where you have all types of travel, probably 120% back from the pandemic. And you also have people now working back in the offices. People are going back to work. You're gonna have this intern season, right? Over the past 2 years, yeah, you had intern season where, you know, interns were coming to the office. This year, everybody's coming to the office. You're not gonna have a job if you don't go to the office. So you're gonna have business travel absolutely exploding. It's gonna be ridiculous. You're gonna have regular tourist travel absolutely exploding. About 120% of probably what it was pre-pandemic. And this is really the first year where almost nobody, and I'm talking like nobody, not even the fanatics. Jeez. I feel like when the undercover cops kind of whiz in and out of the city that fast, I think they could probably do more danger than not. I mean, that guy almost kamikazed into that bike cyclist. Anyway. And I think even the fanatics that were like obsessed with COVID, I'm sure we've all, you know these people in our lives. They're like infatuated with the COVID-19 virus. Wear 3 masks, you know, get 8 vaccines. Like now nobody gives a shit about it. Everybody knows it's a fraud. And so it's business as normal now, and it's all systems go. And the New York City this summer is going to scream. It's going to be amazing. And that's my prediction. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, from what I've been hearing, what I've been seeing, business travel is going to return in a major way. You already have some of these hotels fully booked out. And yeah, now this vacant lot here, let's go walk in, I'll show it to you. This is going to be the new construction site for the Torch building. This is the Extel development that's going to have 850 unit hotel room. And it's going to have a drop ride attraction at the top, which I think is a little bit, maybe a little tacky. I don't know. We'll have to see how it progresses with the construction. But if you're interested in looking at some of the renderings, The address, I believe, is 830 8th Avenue. I think 830 8th Avenue. Or you could just type in the Torch Building, New York City, and you can see a full list of renderings. The thing looks insane. It kind of looks like something you would see in like Dubai, maybe Singapore. Joyce, what about the Hard Rock Cafe in New York? Yeah, that's still there. That's right in Times Square. That's a very popular place. At least I think it's still there. Yeah, Hard Rock is still there. For sure. Noodles says New York City taxes are very high. Yeah, they are very high, that's true. Unfortunately. But what can you do? Res dollars is what are the taxes like? The taxes are high. I mean, that's probably the best way to describe it, is high. But by and large, I think it's worth it, particularly if you're very early on in your career. New York City is an amazing city. It offers so many different opportunities to learn and also to be around a lot of different people from all different types of backgrounds, which I think is pretty invaluable, right? I think that's important, particularly in the business world. You know, you need to learn how to interact with all different types of people from different religions, customs, cultures. And that's like getting a college degree in and of itself. You know, when you're young, living in New York City, getting to meet people from all over the world, that's an experience that I think is pretty invaluable. So even though all the taxes are egregious, the government and the politicians are pretty incompetent, as everybody knows, I think the city's a lot more than that. And if you're very, career focused, particularly in tech or finance, banking, things like that, New York City is pretty much the place to be, right? It's pretty much the only, I wouldn't say the only game in town. It's the big game in town. Okay, everybody. This is the corner of West 46th Street and 8th Avenue. And this is going to be the site, or the official site, where the Torch Building will stand. Let me see if I actually have a rendering on my phone. I don't. I used to. Don't anymore. But it's going to be right here. Let's get a closer look. Let's see if we can see the foundation. 740. I apologize. 740 8th Avenue is the official address. Well, let me cross here because I'm going to put the camera over the fence, and I'm curious to see what the foundation is looking like, because they poured the concrete. All right, let's see. You guys can tell me what it looks like. And then when I go home, I'll have to rewatch the stream. But this building is going to be insane. Oh, maybe we could just look through here. see it a little bit better. How's it looking over there, guys? It looks like it goes down probably 10 or 20 feet from street level, the foundation. There's also many super talls going up in Miami. And many people wonder, well, how is it possible that these super talls can go up in South Florida? Because we don't have the, or I should say Florida doesn't really have the strong bedrock that New York City has. Well, there's this new technology called soil mixing, which is pretty interesting. And I was meeting with the developer in Miami, and he was explaining it to me, and he sent me this video. It's the coolest thing ever. You guys got to watch. So if you go on YouTube, pull up another window for all of those, you know, real estate buffs, architecture buffs out there, developing people. Type in Waldorf Astoria, Miami soil mixing. And it'll take you on a step-by-step process of exactly how they engineer the soil, so they can build these super tall structures that you see on Billionaires Row in New York City, other cities like Chicago, but they're able to do it down in Miami where traditionally the soil doesn't support the weight of those buildings. So it's called soil mixing. Really cool stuff. All right, one more look at the torch. So again, 740 8th Avenue. This is going to be the Torch building by Xtel. Ah, Zozo Bob, yes. Tom, you should check out the Waldorf Astoria Foundation, which they poured last month. We'll have to go check it out. I walked past it, but I didn't get to do like a super deep dive there. American Creed 1776, as Tom compared the Torch's foundation work to the original Empire State Building foundation work. Definite world of difference. I'll check it out. Now, talk about impressive, right? To American Creed's point. Guys, if we can build the Empire State Building during the Great Depression, we could figure things out. I think we could figure some stuff out in this city. All right, now we are on New York City's Restaurant Row. I feel as if the traffic is a lot worse tonight. Maybe it's because there's a lot of road closures due to all the presidents being in town. Frankie and Johnny's Steakhouse.
It's a girl, it's a girl.
Huh. I've actually never even heard of this place before. Frankie and Johnny's Steakhouse. Well, I'll take a mental note of that. Has anybody been here? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Looks pretty good in there in terms of the environment. Peter says, does the soil mixing process as you understand it make sense? I guess it has been tested to see the weight it will take. Now, I am not an expert on that at all, but it's a new technology where they can fundamentally change the soil very, very far down deep. So essentially they have these big drill bits. It's almost the drill bits that you would see on like an oil rig. So if you think about if you're doing like offshore drilling, right, you have this massive bit that's drilling through all this crazy bedrock. But inside the drill bit, it has these like porous openings where it shoots concrete down through the bit. So as it's ripping through all that, you know, limestone, right? Because we're talking about, in this case, Florida, right? It's consistently pumping concrete through those bits. So it mixes the soil into a perfect, again, you got to watch the video, but it mixes it into like this perfect concoction, if you will, to where it would support the weight of that foundation, which is crazy. However, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong there, particularly in South Florida, Miami, because a lot of our flooding comes from underground, right? So if you get a heavy rain or there's a high tide, before the foundation settles, you have to do the whole thing all over again, because it could turn into a giant, essentially like wading pool, like a lagoon, which happened on another development site just north of Edgewater, I think. I don't know if Zozo Bob is in the chat, but there was a development, I think just north of Edgewater, where they did this soil mixing kind of deal, and it totally failed, and they had to do the whole thing over again. All right, we are now officially in Hell's Kitchen. Really fun neighborhood, lots of nice nightlife here. You'll see a lot of these low-rise buildings, pre-war. Gotta plug my phone in soon. Since we have the light, we'll cross. Might as well. So that's looking down towards the Port Authority bus terminal. Hey, Cleveron Schuler II, thank you so much for your very generous and kind $20 donation. Thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for supporting
that's like Jersey?
the stream.
No, yeah.
Zozo Bob's, Tom, I haven't heard of that project. Oh, the other soil mixing project? It was in that video I watched about the soil mixing, and I believe the development site is just north of Edgewater, where they did the soil mixing, but there was a big heavy rain and it was a flood, and it totally destroyed the foundation, so they had to rework the entire thing. But yeah, I'm excited for the Waldorf Astoria. It's supposed to be the tallest building south of New York City. Crazy. Now, have you been into the showroom, Zozo Bob? I actually had a couple friends do the full tour of that showroom at the Waldorf Astoria. right, we're all plugged in, ready to go. Hey Brad, appreciate you joining. Thanks so much. Yeah, we've been starting late this week. It's been a busy week. Unfortunately, I've been in the office late almost every day. But busy is good. Never complain about being busy. That means things are finally moving down the sales pipeline, I guess. Matthew M says, you think that the court case could get violent after the verdict? I'm assuming you're talking about the Trump court case. I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. Now, I respect everybody's political opinions, but I think people are just over it. And I'm not saying that's the appropriate choice. I think people, by and large, are very, very taxed with the Trump news. Most people. Now, do I think it's personally a witch hunt? I do. But generally, I'm almost kind of taxed and over it too. It's like, the media's got to move on from Trump. Every time you turn on the TV, it's something about the trial, something about this, something about that. Psychoanalyzing Trump. Trump this, Trump that. It's like, it's nonstop. Now, the bad news is the following. It's probably going to ramp up even more going into the election in November. I mean, I don't watch any of these talk shows, but I'll see clips of it on like Twitter. Wow, that guy was an aggressive driver. But I'll see like clips of these talk shows, like these morning talk shows like The View. And that's all they talk about is Trump. It's like, it's almost kind of like a sickness, honestly. I wish we would just move on and talk about something else. Just don't even give it media coverage. Just do something else. I'm like taxed over it. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but I feel as if since the 2016 election, CNN they should just rebrand themselves as, Donald Trump News Network, because they psychoanalyze and talk about Donald Trump all the time. It's the same thing on Fox News. It's just every other piece is just bashing Biden. It's like overplayed, and I think people are sick of it, and that's why you're seeing, and to tie this back into the financial earnings, you saw this in Alphabet's earnings report. Advertisers are flocking to other mediums. Streaming services. The legacy machine is dying. Legacy media is dying, my friends. And I think you're going to see a rise of independent media outlets, because if you're an entrepreneur, let's say if you're a journalist, right, and you work for the New York Times, or you work for the Wall Street Journal, or name your publication, right? Insert publication here. You always have that thought in the back of your mind, like, okay, I can't really say what I want to say because I want to keep my job, right? But now with all these different platforms like Substack and YouTube, right? Spotify, if you're a journalist, all you have to do is go to the Apple Store, buy a cell phone. You could do independent media work yourself, publish it on Substack, charge people a subscription service for it, and you can go to direct to consumer. You can cut out the middleman, which is the machine of media, which is the machine of legacy media. You can go direct to consumer. And I think a lot of people are going to direct to consumer now, which is really good because you're going to get lots of different perspectives and less censorship. So you'll get more blunt opinions, more diversity in thought, and less censorship over time, which is very good for society. So in that aspect, I think it's really good. It's crazy to look at all these pre-war buildings with those fire escapes, and then you look in the distance and you see those super talls. Central Park Tower, 220 Central Park South. I love these corner stores that have the flower shops. They have a lot of these on the Upper West Side. These are beautiful, right? Smells really good too. This place takes good care of its flowers. Some of the shops, you know, they're all wilted and dead. Hey, Dr. Longas, what's going on? Thanks for joining us on this tech-filled day worth of earnings. Alphabet, Microsoft, Visa. Pretty much saved the market today. Take you guys back to Columbus Circle. Hey, Matthew M, thank you so much for your very generous $5 donation. Thank you for the support. Thank you for watching. Look at this dining room. Norma. It's like an Italian pizza kitchen. (54th Street). There's another bodega. This is getting into the neighborhood of where I used to go to college. Yeah, that's right. We are almost at the Flame. About 4 more blocks, we're at the Flame Diner. I wish I could go there tonight. I already had dinner, pretty full. I used to go to the Planet Fitness right down here. Talk about another stock that I think got cut in half. Ticker symbol PLNT. Planet Fitness.
Gotta quit it.
This whole block used to be vacant. Now there's actually bodegas. Looks like there's like a mini grocery store here. This place changed a lot. Oh, wise owl. I don't think you're allowed to sign up anymore on credit cards. They make sure that they get your bank account information now, a lot of these gyms. I mean, the gym is a pretty good business model, right? Because essentially you have unlimited sales power because you're essentially betting that the vast majority of your members will never use your services. That's really the only way that the business model works. So if you open a gym, you can sell as many memberships as you want because the data shows that pretty much more than half of your user base will never even use the membership. And then they'll forget about it and they'll just be billed in perpetuity. And I think I'm one of those people. I'm probably, like if I did an audit of my bank statement, I'm probably paying for some gym membership that I completely forgot about, to be honest. I hope I'm not, but I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, what's up, Eric? Cross. I think I'm going to cut back over to Columbus Circle and buy some zinc, as you guys recommended. Here's the Flame, greatest place on earth. Look at 220 Central Park South from here. Super thin looking. But if you guys enjoyed the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. This is a quick reminder to everybody, go ahead and check your email because I did email out our free investing newsletter, Behind the Street. If you want to read it, you can type !news, N-E-W-S in the chat, and it'll take you right to our Substack where we covered a lot of information. We should be back live tomorrow at 8:30. Happy Friday, thank God. But until then, my friends, we'll see you tomorrow. Finish the week strong, have a wonderful Friday, and we will see you soon. Dr. Longest Tracks 101, appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Hawaii, all of our moderators. Abdullah, Sunshine After Rain, Dale, Cynthia Ava, NAV 407, Oh Wise Owl, Ali Star, Abdullah, DM, Dylan Thomas, Tatted Tara, Jenny Trickett. See you guys tomorrow. This is Deutsche Bank. Man, did they do a good job on that lobby? used to look totally different. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.